Now, one of the key things that I see in the ladies that I teach is postural imbalance. We often get into patterns, especially if we've been wearing heels or we've been sitting a lot, where the pelvis is tucked under, and that tends to collapse the chest. And because we've got the pelvis forward of the midline of the body, the head tends to go forward too. So you'll see this kind of patterning happening more and more as women age. This becomes very tight through your hips and you lose your core strength. We also, when we tuck under, we're taking the tailbone and the sit bones closer to the pubic bone, and therefore we're squeezing, we're crunching into the pelvic floor, and we're moving away from that nice lengthened alignment that we want in the pelvic floor. We also see this overlordosis, where the bum is pushed back and the chest is lifted and the head is lifted up. Now this kind of posture, which is I call the soldier posture, then tends to destabilize the core muscles by pulling the ribs up and out, and you get a lot of compression in the mid-back. So we don't want this and we don't want this. We kind of want to be stacked in the middle, and we want to make sure that as we're stacked nice and tall, that the deep core muscles, the transverse abdominal muscles, your obliques, the extensor muscles of the back, are all working to hold up our spine and to keep us working so that we feel more energetic and we feel more open through the chest and we can breathe well. So to do that, to get into your good alignment, I get women to do this thing called getting tall against the wall. So you basically want to get any old wall, turn your feet so that they are looking straight forward, the edges of your feet are parallel to each other, and then have your heels plugging down into the ground. Keep the knees ever so slightly bent, and you want to have the front of the hips here, dropping down through your knees and then down through your ankles. Press your bottom as hard as you can back into the wall. And then drop the base of the rib cage, so these floating ribs here, drop them down, down and in towards your spine. Now, this doesn't feel very comfortable, but it's just to get the appropriate perception of pressure through the back of the body. Roll your right shoulder up and slide it down, taking the palm forward and the forearm into the wall. Do the same thing with the left arm, so you're dropping shoulders right away from ears, pressing forearms into the wall, hands into the wall. Now chin tucks in, and you want to press the ridge at the back of your head hard into the wall. So you're getting a lovely sandwich effect as you're pressing your body into the wall here. Now you want to imagine you've got a hook from the crown of your head and it's being pulled up towards the ceiling. And as you lengthen upwards, at the same time, press down and slightly out through your feet. So it's almost like you're growing roots down into the ground. You're lengthening up, you're pressing down, you're pushing back. And don't forget to breathe. So if you know your ujjayi breath, the ocean-like breath, start to cultivate that. So we're taking the breath right down and then right out underneath the armpits and then lifting up to the top of the chest at the clavicles. And as you exhale, base of the ribcage drawing in, the breath is just pouring out of you. So stay here for about a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, pressing back into the wall, creating this imprint on the back of the body. And this is a nice thing to do every morning. If you're finding posture is an issue for you, if you're finding that your shoulder tension is becoming quite severe and you're getting pain in the neck and the upper back, try doing this. So press backwards. And then we just step away from the wall and release the shoulders, release the head, give it a little shake. And you'll find that it is much easier to drop your weight down through your heels, have your bottom behind you, so the weight is dropping down. You've got my pelvis here, rather than being forward, is just aligned down. We've got a very, very gentle anterior tilt through the pubic bone, through the front of the hips, and into the base of the rib cage here. Shoulders stacking down, your back dropping down into their sockets, head is in, and it feels like you're being lifted from the back of the head like that. So now, if I was to lock my knees, I'd fall over backwards. So you want to make sure that as you're moving through space, you feel weight down through your heels and you're nice and stacked. You want to be able to create this drop line through the ears, through the shoulders, down through the ribs, through the pelvis, knees and into the ankles. Primary thing is dropping the ribs. So many of us do a bit of flare, drop those ribs down. Good. Bottom behind, pelvis back, base of the rib cage in, chin back in. So that's getting tall against the wall. or if you're sitting at the desk. These seats are so bad for our posture. They kind of make you want to slouch, and then you end up with your head jutted forward like this and collapse through the chest and your pelvis is tucked under. A little trick is just to put your bottom right to the back of the seat like that, and then have a towel, or I've just got a jacket here rolled up, place it around your bra strap here, so not under the lumbar spine, but just a little bit higher, so that voila, now the base of the rib cage is stacked on top of the pelvis. I've got my little lumbar curve here, shoulders can drop down, and my head can be sitting on top of my neck. And this is a position where all the deep core muscles are switched on, so you've got all of your core musculature is really holding you upright, and you can breathe properly. So just a little tip for when you're sitting at the desk for a long time, or you're driving for a long time, to get yourself aligned. So that means your tummy muscles are switched on, your pelvic floor and your diaphragm can connect, and you don't have that horrible head thrust where that 8 to 10 pounds of weight of your head is all pulling on your neck and you get horrible hunched shoulders. So try that if you are driving or sitting at the desk.